Welcome, everyone, to the Relatable Debatable Podcast. My name is Gylije, and welcome to the first episode, Relatable Debatable. Basically, we're going to be talking about topics that are debatably relatable, whether it's like dating, career, life, real estate, therapy, sex. I mean, honestly, anything you can think of probably has crossed my path. So I figured for this first episode, we'll let the audience get to know me as a person, Julie with a G. I've invited one of my very good friends, Veronica Johnson, here to help me and grill me with some interview questions that I had people on Instagram submit to me. And then I've also added some loaded questions so we can have me thinking off the cuff, because sometimes that's just better and it's more entertaining.
Hello, everybody.
Good Lord. Hi. Hi, all four of you for episode 0. My mom, your mom, probably Ham's mom.
Our therapist.
Our therapist. God, any of my therapists, because I've had multiple.
Hello, exes.
Oh my God. I do know that. I do know. Some of them submitted questions, actually.
Oh, did they? I love that.
Yeah,
okay.
I left those questions off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Boy, my adamant just...
I mean, one of the guys asked when's the last time I gave a blowjob, and I was like,
Okay,
we're not going to cover that on episode 0.
That's the reason he's an ex right there.
Well, I don't know if that's the reason he's an ex, but. All right, V, I'll hand it to you to ask some of the questions that people submitted on Instagram, and then when you feel like it, you can also just like pull from the pile.
Amazing.
If you want to throw me for a loop.
All right.
On
well, let's start.
some shit.
And
Yeah.
just tell the listeners about you.
About me. Born and raised Chicago. I'm 36 years old. I've lived in 4 states: Illinois, Washington, Arizona. 3 states? New York? Oh my God. Jesus. I'm like, wait, there's more than that.
But you're from...
But I'm from Chicago. Yeah. From Chicago. Worked in advertising and marketing for about 15 years. But I've had a lot of jobs, from whether it's like sales, media, project management, creative. I actually started out as a copywriter. I've also started a few businesses in my 20s, like planning events and parties, going to Vegas. It was all about monetizing fun. You know, any way that I can like get drunk and make money was like a large part of my 20s, I would say.
As it should be.
Yeah. And I've also have a company called With G, where we focus a lot of my efforts on like conference concierge. So like helping people plan and execute conferences. So I've started businesses in the past and maintained businesses. Got into comedy about 1.5 years ago, almost going on 2 years in May. What else about me? This is like the longest elevator pitch ever. I can confidently say I've increased my salary by 40% on average every 18 months. So if you're wondering why listen to this bitch, that's one reason. If you want career advice, I tend to give it to a lot of people unsolicitedly. And people end up asking me too. They're like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? So here to share the information. I mean, knowledge is power. I'm all about that, like your network and growing your network. And maybe this helps me do that. I've got a Frenchie, Dixon. He's love of my life, 16 years
Stinky farts,
old.
though, people.
Oh, man.
You babysit. Beware.
I mean, I don't know. You know things about me. What? Oh, I model. Yeah, that's right. I modeled as a kid, and I got back into it in my 30s. So it's like a weird gap in between, but I guess I'm photogenic.
30, flirty, and thriving.
I'm 36, so I'm like...
Still 30s.
Sure, I'm 36 and about to hit the sticks. I don't even know. Yeah. But yeah, that's like, I guess, high level about me. I don't know if you think I forgot anything.
No, I think that was a great elevator pitch. Like, if we're going to the 100th floor, that was a great elevator.
Fuck you. It's funny, because in work, I'm fair. I try to be concise, and also if I'm not concise, I'm usually just trying to confuse people. Yeah. And kill time because I don't have the answers that they need on a call.
Yeah. So you're like, let me tell you about my life.
Let me tell you about my... Well, no, I'll be like, but what about this one thing that nobody cares about? Yeah. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, my credibility. Like, yeah.
No, that was awesome. So you want me to get right into the next question?
Sure.
All right. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
I would say there's two things. I would say I moved to Seattle not knowing anybody at all. I went for a job. And also, Seattle's not the warmest city in the world. So moving there without friends and only knowing the person who recruited me was really hard, because also I ended up getting like 5 or 6 of my friends to move to Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And like one of my best friends, Frankie, I didn't even meet her until like I was 2.5, 3 years into being in Seattle.
Which is crazy to think about.
It's crazy to think about because we're thick as thieves, and I feel like she's my other half.
Yeah. Well, side note, that's actually how we know each other.
That is how we know each other. That is how we know each other. I wouldn't typically be friends with a Gen Zer, but you know.
Guys, I hear it every day. But yet she can't get rid of me.
I can't. No, I love the energy. I love the youth, you know.
Keep you young.
And it's also because like when I drink, people my age can't keep up, but the people in their 20s, they can keep up.
Yeah, we can't get together often because it ends up being 4 a.m. type of night. We start at brunch and end up in...
Yeah, it's a marathon. It's a marathon, you know?
We love it. But that's what New York City's all about.
I mean, that's what any city's all about. That's what any day that ends in Y is about.
Exactly. I know she's doing dry January, February, March.
April, May. I'm doing dry 100 days. I'm trying to do a dry 100 days.
So I'm a little upset right now. I lost a friend.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's all right.
Dude, you didn't lose a friend. You're here. I'm giving you, and I'm feeding you alcohol.
Shout out.
White Claw. White Claw, you know, if this podcast
Sponsor
becomes
us.
a thing. Yeah.
Sponsor her.
It can be us. You were actually like bummed that I went. So
I was like, I called her and I was like, we're going to have to like find some sober activity. She goes, you can do everything that you do drunk sober.
Yeah, literally everything.
But but it's like, you want someone that's with you for the ride, because then you'll remember everything I won't.
Yeah, but like I feel like even when I'm sober, I'm still singing in public, dancing in public, being ridiculous, and I'm probably just going to get you drunker.
Exactly.
I'll probably still pay for the tab.
We love our sugar mama. We love our sugar mama. Great girl. Guys, hit her up.
No. Guys, do not hit me up. No broke bitches. Yeah. No. That's not how this works. No. I'll date a guy who doesn't make as much money as me, and I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
I just got to be driven and, can make it
Contribute.
Past the third date.
I would say contribute in other ways.
Contribute in other ways.
No, that's great. Okay, so anything else you wanted to add to the hardest thing, moving to a new city?
Moving to a new city and then not knowing anybody. I'd also say one of the hardest things that I've been trying to do and that I'm doing this year is trying to, because since doing stand-up comedy, I can be fairly dirty.
We love it. That's
love to hear it.
Raw.
Authentic,
no
it's
pun
me.
Intended.
Basically, no condom. But I'm going to try and write 5 clean minutes of material. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because every time I try to like sit down and write something, it automatically goes in the gutter. I'm like, fuck, this is going to be hard. And I was actually telling...
Up there on the hardest things to do.
It's already up there on the hardest things to do because I was... talking to Elisa Brown, another comic, one of my comedy besties, and she's like, "Yeah, that's gonna take you all year."
Yeah, 2025 goals. Talk
about like, and I hope I can get. And it's part of me is like, get 5 minutes of clean material, but the goal is really 5 minutes of good, clean material that I would be willing to like have be on TV.
Yeah, no, I think that's. All right, I love it. You gave us what was the hardest and what could be your hardest.
Yeah, what is coming up as the hardest.
Yeah, love it. All right, next question. Why did you get into comedy?
I love being on stage. It's interesting because I saw a friend of mine from high school a couple days ago, and he's like, I'm surprised, I'm surprised that you got into comedy. I'm like, you're surprised? But I realized he didn't actually go to my high school, and we only knew each other in like a party sense. And he's like, of course you're funny, but I like just didn't see that. And I was like, no, but I was always like, I was a stage geek. Like I did theater, I did speech, I did debate, I did it in college, I did Toastmasters after college. So public, honestly, if public speaking in general was a career alone, I would do it. Politics is one of them, but I can't do politics. I don't have the background in the sense of legally, I don't think I'm allowed to.
Why?
Well, I'm like, my DUI I was like a convicted felon because of that. And
I don't think that even
it's a super extreme. Yeah. Well,
I would say nowadays though.
Nowadays, yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, look at the president now.
Yeah,
He's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
So maybe I could have got into politics, but honestly, it's just not my cup of tea per se.
Yeah, you're not as PC as
I'm
you
not.
should be for
Yeah,
the
no, I'm
politician
definitely
role.
not. I mean, if I have struggles sometimes working in corporate America with HR, I think I'm going to struggle in politics.
Yeah.
But I got into comedy because I like being on stage. It actually like challenges me to do things that I've never really talked, and to talk about things that I never really talk about.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's the active unknown. It's part of the reason I also started the podcast is like there's an element of active and unknown when you're having a conversation with somebody and like trying to keep up with the conversation and being present.
Yeah.
I think those are a lot of the reasons I got into comedy. I think as a child, I probably would have told you it's because I want to be famous.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I don't think that's a vain thing to say. I've actually said to somebody, I was like, oh, I think everybody wants to be famous. And he was like, no, not everybody wants to be famous. Not everybody wants to be in the limelight. Not everybody wants that. And I feel like some people get shit for saying it or saying you want attention or you want to be on stage. Yeah. I don't care. I'm like, I like it. I want it. Like there are enough people who don't like it that I should be allowed to express the fact that I like it.
Yeah. No, fully. And I was actually, did I move here like a little bit after you started doing comedy? When did yeah, right? So I've been here from the start. So I've seen you from like when you were first doing it to now, and I like can't believe the difference, even just like seeing older clips and stuff.
Yeah, but you came in after like 6 months of me doing it.
Yeah, but even
because you never even saw like my OG set where I talk about wearing flip-flops to the airport.
Oh yeah, no, okay, so
and like Taco Bell.
But even just seeing like when you have like a really good set, and it really is just about like the crowd sometimes, but like even just like how you deliver stuff differently across, it's like amazing. And I also was gonna ask, do you still get nervous to go up on stage ever?
Yeah, I think I always, and that's partially what I like about it, is like the nerves getting on stage. But as soon as I'm on stage, I don't feel nervous.
So it's like, is it kind of like an adrenaline rush a little bit?
100%. Yeah. And that's what I like about it too. It's like a natural Molly, the endorphins that are released on stage. Like,
I love that's a good way to put it.
Well, I came up in therapy
don't
because
do drugs, kids.
Well, do what you want.
Do it safely.
Just don't talk about it. No. I actually ended up going, like, after my first couple shows, I would get depressed afterwards.
Really?
And I brought it up in therapy. I was like, fuck, am I going to be able to maintain doing stand-up? Like, because I've noticed the day after a show, I'm like, and it's not like because the show was bad. It was like I was on this high and now I'm back down and, like, everything else is just lame.
Wow. But that's interesting. I didn't know that.
But now, but then I started having bad shows, so there wasn't as much of a high.
Yeah. But that's what I admire about all the comedians out there is, you know, you can hit a crowd if you just have the right crowd, in the right city. Like you can be so good, and then you can do that same set somewhere else, and it just doesn't hit. It doesn't mean you're bad. Comedy is like so subjective that. But
the more relatable it is, the more you can connect with a broader audience. I'll say this, like my Arizona show, I think I joked with you. I was like, I felt like I was Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stories and everything that I talk about in my stand-up are from the time I lived in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I literally like, because I added in certain details that just like wouldn't land in New York.
Yeah.
People died. Like it was.
Yeah.
But it showed to me, it takes me back to like, I work with DC Benny as a coach. And one of his big things is like details. Everything's in the details. That's like what keeps people engaged. And that's also like partially what makes things funny. And it wasn't until then when I added in those details during like those shows, I was like, oh shit. Like I like get it now.
Yeah.
But I have yet to figure out how to do that in a broader sense.
Yeah. Well, but that's, you said the more relatable you are, like that's when you'll hit the most crowds. But isn't it, I feel like it's hard to also be, because they tell you you have to be different and stand out, but then it's hard to be different and stand out and be relatable sometimes. Like how do you connect those two?
So I think the different, like stories are going to always be different, right? Or hopefully, right? Experiences in theory would be different. Sometimes when you're talking about dating, I feel like stories tend to blend together. It's more of like, what's your perspective on it?
Yeah.
And I actually met with a different coach and one of my old professors who I used to like do copywriting with and things like that. And he was like, you need to be more vulnerable. I'm like, well, now you sound like my therapist, right? Like, and it's like, how do I feel about certain things? And I'm not good at that. Like, I like to think that I'm vulnerable, but I probably am not. Like, I think just because I'm self-aware and open about things doesn't actually mean that I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't even know what that word means 80% of the time. Like, I witness other people's vulnerable moments, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's helpful context. But yeah, I admire all the comedians out there because to get up on there and like, I get secondhand embarrassment. So I can't even imagine like choosing to do that, but you guys love it. And if you're good at it, it's...
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'm good at it. I'm working on it.
You're good at it.
Thank you.
You're, like you said, stage presence, like...
Yeah, but I hate that, though. Can I just tell you, that's like my biggest pet peeve is... I know I have stage presence. I'm a kid who I grew up on stage. I would hope anybody who's done as much theater, speech, debate, and presenting as I have, you would have an element of stage presence.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's why I get booked, is I have stage presence.
Yeah.
And enough of what I talk about in my stand-up isn't as stereotypical as other female comics. Like, there was a guy who books me all the time who, one of the reasons he said he, like, my tape, like, stood out to him is he's like, you're the first person to not only talk about dating or hating on men or things like that. I'm like, fuck. Now that's, like, planted in my head where I feel like I can't.
But I still feel like you do, like,
talk about dating. And when I talk about it, I try to talk about it from a different lens, not in he's got a fish picture sort of a thing. And that's, like, not shade on people who talk about that, but, like...
You're just saying, like, the normal...
normal things, but
yeah. No,
that's why I got into comedy because I don't know, I like talking on stage.
You love it.
I love it.
All right, well, let's keep the comedy rolling. What are your comedy goals?
Comedy goals, the 5 clean minutes for starters. I want to.
That is a goal.
It is a goal. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
I want to double the amount of shows that I did in 2024. So 2024, I did 137. So it's like 274. I think I did the mental math. 274. I want to at least do 200 shows this next year. And I want to have 30 minutes of content that I like. I don't like any of my content right now, so technically I'm starting at 0. So there's that. Okay. But I'm hoping I'm learning. I hope I re-like some of my stuff.
I've started a little bit.
I rewrote a couple things that you'll see on Sunday. Of like reshaping and reformatting and combining certain things that I think potentially go together. I don't know. We'll see. We'll flop. I'm also going to try and do more open mics. That's something I wouldn't say I'm good at right now. I don't go. I just the New York scene's tough in that like when people are on their phones not paying attention, they leave after they go, which by the way, I am that person as well. So I'm 100% a hypocrite when I say this, but I need to get up more and just be more okay with just like talking about a concept, because at the end of the day, even when I'm doing my funniest shit, no one's laughing, so I might as well just go up and just start talking about things.
So are open mics like anybody can show up and go up there, or do you have to like book it before?
Anybody can show up and go up. You want to do an open mic, you can do an open mic.
Well, so one concept that we actually like said was funny is I've seen so many shows, I think I could actually recite one of your sets, and I think I should go to an open mic and try to do it and 100%. See how it goes. I think that would be like such a fun activity.
I want to film it.
Okay, let's do it, and everyone listening, come join us.
Yeah, and then we could do who did it better.
Yeah. You say who did it better? Is that Julie with a G or Julie with a Veronica?
With a Veronica, or Julie's. Julie said, well, yeah, I don't know how to make that work with G. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the branding.
No, that's good. I hope you hit all your goals, and I'll be there for 200
probably
shows.
Half of it. Yeah. Probably, you're coming up there. You're coming up there. I think you're tracking to pass the amount of shows that Amanda Woodley went to. The problem is,
Amanda, I'm coming for you.
I think she's willing. Like, she's like,
She said,
please,
"Take my spot."
Take my spot.
No, I'm a groupie.
Yeah, you are a groupie. That's what
Just waiting for all my merch.
I know. I know.
No, I love stand-up, so I love seeing your journey, and I love seeing other people. Like, I love laughing. So.
Oh, and I want to produce more Suns Up shows.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about
Suns Up Stand Up. It's a daytime brunch show. The idea is to get some of the best comedians across all of New York City to do shows at like 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, because I think there's definitely a demographic for people who want to drink during the day.
What time is it? 10 a.m.?
Who want to drink during the day and also like do comedy. It's a good middle of the day activity. Some pro comics are like, you're not, like, what are you doing? You're nuts. Bookers are like, oh, like once you like sell a bunch, like I'll give you a better time slot. I'm like, no, I want daytime comedy to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do more daytime brunch time shows. I want to try and find a venue that I can do food with. I want to try and incorporate music. I want to eventually like even maybe scale into how do we bring in karaoke.
I love it. No, and I went to her first show and it was electric. Everyone was
It was sold out.
I went to brunch before.
Yeah.
And then went there after, and it was the perfect.
I think as long as I'm doing it at St. Mark's, like I'm going to potentially try and find some other locations in the area that maybe will do like some sort of combo, like they do brunch and then they get to walk over, because I feel like that could work.
Yeah.
Because I also like, I gotta figure out the like, oh, is having food delivered during a show gonna be complicated? I don't think so, because like there are comedy clubs that serve food.
Yeah, but like I get your point with like the serving with the food when you're doing it, because it's so fast moving that you're like. So I think it's like, I love the concept. Once
I include, like, if food becomes part of the show where food's being delivered, I think I'm gonna have less comics who do more time.
Yeah.
I think that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm also gonna I'm going to start to incorporate more like up and coming amateur comics that I like. But as much like I'm charging a premium right now for the tickets, where I want anybody who's coming to have like a really good show.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't do that with up and coming comics, but like, I mean, walk away.
So if she asked you to be on it, she respects you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Not sure if she respects me, but I'm there. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's a thing with me. I don't hide how I feel about things or people. Sometimes like people will tell me their jokes. I'm like, I'm not your audience. But I'm not though. Like there's especially like some of like younger male comics. I like the comedy doesn't land for me, right? Yeah. Like
that's a great way to say it. I'm not your audience.
I'm not though. Like but it's interesting because Elisa will say I'm an easy laugher. I think for things that are good.
Hey, don't take offense to it, guys. I wasn't sure she even liked me until like last week.
Fuck off.
So don't take offense to it.
I'm described as a Sour Patch Kid. You know, you're like, oh, what's happening right now? And then you're like, oh, she's sweet. Like,
oh, absolutely. So like that is, I'm gonna be savvy here, and I'm gonna say my favorite thing about Julie is she really is like a ride or die. Like if you need anything, she will be there for you. She is the most generous person I've ever met in my life. Like I had my birthday for the city. She took me out.
I wined and dined you.
Like I
took you to the cellar for the first time.
Took me to the cellar for the first time. I was like, who literally needs a man? Like,
you know, I think I feel like I play that role for a lot of my girlfriends. Yeah. Like, even with Frankie, like, I feel like sometimes I'm like a proxy Adam, even though Adam's her husband. Adam's always around. But, like, especially, like, my friends before they ended up in relationships and marriages, I was very much like the guy. Like I would plan the thing. I would be a great boyfriend. I would be a great husband. I would provide. I love planning things. But I do expect you to clean. Like if I'm gonna do all this shit, you gotta clean.
I can clean or hire a cleaner.
Yeah, or we split the maid, which I'm all about. Honestly, like it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, I do. I think I do play a lot of like male type roles in a lot of my female relationships, which is also partially why like my relationship history is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, I think you're that strong foundation that a lot of people need. Like, you're like an emotional support friend.
I provide a lot of hand-me-down therapy.
I love it because I'm not in therapy.
No, I literally, one of my best friends, Livy, sent me a card that she's like, thank you for all of the hand-me-down therapy. But I'm also like, even some of my friends who aren't vulnerable or open up about things, they will with me. Like, we'll talk about things. Because I also just like cut straight to the chase. I'll ask certain questions.
Sometimes I'm like, all right, you're a little too real with me about that.
Sorry.
No, but that's what a friend is. You have to be real and raw. Like, that's...
Yeah, but I sometimes, like, it can, especially, like, as people get to know me, it can come, at first you might think I'm attacking you. Yeah. Or you might think I don't like you, but no, I'm trying to be straight, no chaser. Yeah. On a lot of things, and I try my best to provide you a perspective that maybe you're not seeing. Yeah. Sometimes, like, people are like, fuck you, I don't believe, like, whatever. And then they'll, like, come back to me, like, a couple of years later.
But you've been around the block, so you know, you're speaking from experience. And
100%. Yeah. And a lot of times it's because, like, usually if I'm observing something, I've already thought it about myself at some point in time. Yeah. Like, I think, like, whenever people are like, oh, are you nervous about people not liking what you say on stand-up or people, like, hitting you up in the comments and whatever, I'm like, no. Like, there are certain people and certain things, especially if I don't know you, I truly say whatever you want. But if I know you, I trust you, I respect you, and you tell me something, and if it hits me, that means I, like, probably agree with it, and I've thought about it too much that now I'm like, fuck, you said it out loud, and now I'm gonna sit on this forever.
Yeah. Well, okay, but I think you're meant to be famous. If you don't know somebody and you care what don't care what they say.
Oh, like, yeah. There are elements of why I think I'm meant to be famous. I have a very good friend of mine who's a professional comedian, and he, like, got pretty big, and he, like, has an element of paparazzi that follows him. And he literally texted me. He's like, you would love this. He's like, you would love paparazzi. You don't get tired from the cameras. I'm like, you're right. Yeah. I don't. I like it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with liking it. No. I've also, like, learned to, like or accept every angle of a photo that gets taken of me. Yeah. Like, I remember the first time I did New York Fashion Week, I saw some of those photos. I was like, oh, hello, 5 chins. Yeah. What is I feel like that?
When you're going up on stage, you have to be, because people are taking up in front of you, side. It's usually low, which is the worst angle ever for a lady.
Well, yeah. And so, I'll say this, too. Having lost 100 pounds. Yes. I had the gastric sleeve, by the way. It's not Ozempic for the 800 people who've asked me in my Facebook messages and Instagram. That's not the only answer to losing weight. You can get surgery, guys.
I mean, that's actually crazy that many people have messaged about it.
Not 800, but it's like, I would say like 40 or 50 people. Yeah. Like, some people have even had the audacity, like, oh, did you do it because, like, you want more guys to want to date you? I'm like, no. A lot of people already want to date me. No matter what. Including your husband in high school. And he still messages me about the blowjob I gave him in the closet. So
drop a name.
She knows who she is. And I actually think she'll watch. There are a few people who've like since I've done comedy who start to, like, comment and interact with my Instagram stories that I'm like, I literally haven't talked to you in over 20 years. And even 20 years ago, I didn't really talk to you then. So the active role you're playing on my social media kind of blows my mind. Yeah. But a lot of them still live in the town I grew up, like, moved down the block from their parents. Like, they're living that suburban life. And, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, if I just didn't have a life, I would be like, oh, this bitch, I know her.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you mentioned the surgery you got. So what made you want to get that?
I had a lot of hormonal issues that the doctors... I had a lot of hormonal issues. Like, I had cysts that, like, I would get, like, across, like, my chest, underneath my armpits.
PCOS.
Yeah, from PCOS. Yeah. And there's no cure for PCOS, and PCOS it prevents you from losing weight. Yeah. But I also have this thing called HS, hyperus supernova. I don't know what it's called, but, like, it would get, like, really bad where I couldn't even wear, like, normal bras and stuff. And it was annoying because if I would go to an endocrinologist, if I'd go to a doctor, like, any doctor I would talk about, they're like, you need to lose weight. But there was the hormone stuff that was preventing me from losing the weight. And it got to the point where I was like, you know, like it was over 8 or 9 years. I'd exhausted naturopath, putting everything in glass. Like I did all of these things in effort to try and lose the weight, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So then I was just kind of like, I guess I'll do this.
Yeah.
And
how's your experience been with it?
I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But I will say I feel like doctors are very quick to say losing weight solves a lot of problems, because now they're like, you need to lose more weight.
Yeah.
You need to do this. You need I'm like, losing more weight doesn't solve the problems. And I was actually talking to Frankie actually about it, and she was telling me about her grandma, and apparently like her grandma can't get certain help because like her grandma's overweight and her grandma lost weight, and they're like, oh well, you need to lose more weight. You need, like, I think it's like until like the doctors see your BMI is exactly what it needs to be, they're gonna tell you weight loss is the solution. I do think there's probably more than just losing weight that I need to like help subside some of the issues that I've incurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for being vulnerable there. Look at
Is that vulnerable?
A little. I mean, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, most people wouldn't talk about it openly as.
Well, and it's funny because like I also told myself like I wasn't gonna like have the surgery define me. I didn't want to talk about losing weight in my stand-up, even though I've been told like you should talk about that. Yeah. And I never wanted to be like that person who was like posting that journey. So I think there's also an element, I don't want to say I'm ashamed of it, but I didn't want it to identify me. And I think there's also an element, there's a part of it that's like, I also never saw myself, like I always found myself attractive.
Yeah.
I've always like, didn't necessarily like struggle with feeling like I look good, because I felt like I dress and carry myself fairly well. So it was never about the vanity reasons, and I think people are always so quick to jump to like, it's a vanity reason. I'll even say my mom's like, oh, you're gonna, like, then you're gonna get a husband.
Yeah, because it's like, about more. It's not about vanity. It's about being healthy and feeling good.
A lot of people have asked me like, oh, do you feel better? Like,
I mean,
what does feeling better mean?
Yeah,
honestly, like
mental health is almost as important as
it is. I don't like, do I feel better? Like, I guess I don't remember like feeling badly.
Because you always have loved yourself and confident.
Like I've always found myself attractive. Yeah. Like I didn't like feel like sluggish. I actually, if anything, feel like I was doing more and I accomplished more 100 and something pounds ago than I do now. Because now sometimes I feel like I won't go out because I don't want to like.
Because it's cold out. That's what I'm struggling with right now. Florida girl here.
I don't want to subject myself to eating certain things. Like I find myself staying home more times than not. And I did stay home for a lot. Like the first few months, I wasn't doing much. After surgery. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I think that's just natural with it because you're getting used to it and trying to find your new routine with it.
But everyone asks me, how do I feel? I'm like, I feel fine.
Yeah. Well, I think too, how you said so many people have asked you, I think people are asking to get inspired and because they want to know how someone did it for themselves.
I think people want a cheat code. There's no fucking cheat code. Like, if you do like an Ozempic or trizepatide, that's like forever, right?
Yeah.
Or like... diets aren't forever. Lifestyle changes, are you gonna lifestyle change? Like none of it's like, there's no cheat code.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But no. Well, okay, so you're corporate America. You have a corporate
America
job,
girly, yeah.
You do comedy, and you do modeling. So when did you start modeling? And how'd you get into it?
As a child, my mom introduced me to the modeling world, and I was a child model, did a lot of, like, for a large chunk of my adolescence. And then in New York, I was, because there's so very few plus-sized models out there that I got a DM on Instagram, and it was like, can you come do this shoot? Will you do a fit model? Like, da-da-da-da. Like, you look photogenic. I'm like, I am. And I had never, like, done real modeling like that. And then I'd submitted to, like, be part of New York Fashion Week, and I've done that a few times. I did, like, London Fashion Week, which was cool. But it's more of like a side, like, I don't want to say side passion project. I enjoy taking pictures.
Yeah.
I enjoy the creativity of being styled and like having a vision.
Yeah.
I mean, even like when we did our photo shoot
Yeah.
and like I had a vision for all of that,
Yeah.
like down in Dumbo and all like the outfits and all of it.
Yeah.
So like, I think because I've always had a creative brain, that's why I kind of keep doing it. But I got into modeling like as a child and then into it because somebody slipped into my DMs and then
Yeah.
I've got represented and now I'm like doing stuff with Newly and anthropology, which is cool.
Yeah. I'm excited for you for that.
I know.
I love it. Shout out Newly.
Newly.
Also sponsor us.
Hey, I think there's a
I
world.
keep saying us. I'm like,
Us, yeah. I mean, you can come. You can be on the pod anytime you want.
I'm just here for the jokes and the laughs.
I'm here to get her drunk.
Well, as you guys have noticed, she's not humble at all. So I'm gonna ask a question
Sure.
to make you be a little more humble. So what are you bad at?
There's a lot I'm bad at.
Let's hear it.
And it's actually interesting because I do know who asked me this
Yeah.
on Instagram. It's somebody who was in my freshman year college class, Lauren. Hey. First of all,
Name drop
she was in my English class. I'm terrible at English, spelling, grammar. Anybody who's been in has ever texted me will know that. But I'm bad at spelling and all that.
Okay.
I'm not good at boiling eggs and making rice.
These are the funniest
you know-
badass I've ever heard.
Don't ever ask me to help paint a wall in your home. My good friend Jenna will tell you why not to do that. I get shit everywhere. I'm a mess. Those are a few things. I'm also, what are things that I'm not good at? I mean, history. I'm actually like probably one of the dumbest people you'll know. Truthfully, and I mean that when I say
I do not.
No. Like, and a couple people are starting to notice. There are the things that I know about. Like, I know about marketing.
Yeah.
I know creativity, how to take a photo. Like, I can be like things like that. But there are certain things about history, and a lot of times people think I'm under a rock. Like, there are words that I don't know what they mean, and I use them incorrectly. And yeah, so those are the things that I'm not good at. That offhand,
I will say you don't know anything about pop culture.
Yeah, no. I mean, but there are random things I do, but it's
Yeah.
not. I'm not. You don't ever want me on your trivia team.
Yeah.
Because there's a very narrow window. There's very narrow things that I do know and I retain as information.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks again for being vulnerable there and telling us that you're bad at boiling eggs. That is so good. But
I think we can probably jump to like the last question.
okay. So why should people listen to your podcast?
I think, I'm telling him, like, ask me the last question. I'm like, fuck, I don't remember what I was going to say. I think people should listen to the podcast because, one, I've experienced a lot of life, lived in 4 different states.
Yeah.
I've had 10 plus jobs. I've increased my salary as much as I said I have.
Mm-hmm.
I've entered entrepreneurially. I've done a lot of things. I've dated over 100 men in different states. Maybe had sex with about half of them. I can secondhand therapy. And also I'm pretty good at getting people to like go deep and open up about things. So I'm hoping that as I get guests on, that you'll just start to hear about people's inner workings and thoughts. And listen, because honestly, I've helped a lot of like my friends and network with things.
Yeah.
Why not help?
Well, but your ultimate premise of the show, I know there'll be one-off episodes, probably not necessarily doing it, but it's to bring in 2 different perspectives and have them kind of go.
No.
No? Oh.
No. That was the initial.
Okay.
That was the initial expectation.
We might have to cut this.
No, it's fine. I wanted to like bring in experts to like debate topics from different points of view, but I've learned a lot of people are not going to want to do that. There's very few people at the caliber that I want them to do it that we're going to be willing to do it.
You like debates.
I wanted to set it up like you get a minute, and like you're going back and forth.
I think that could be an episode. Hey,
I think I'm going to try it for sure, but I want there to be like professionals like who are doing it. But the idea is like the topics are potentially relatable. That's what's debatable.
Got it.
Like if it's a dating episode and you're a dude who's listening and you get rejected all the time, I don't know if you're going to relate to whatever gets said.
So you're debating it.
So it's debatable, but it's still going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. I think, I've experienced more life than most people by the age of 36.
Which we couldn't even tell you're 36.
Oh, thank you.
I help with her humbleness, as you can tell.
The vanity is there.
Yeah.
And I, people have been telling me to do a podcast. So that's also why. Anybody who's like messaged me and all of that, the 200, 300 of you who like randomly comment and message me random shit, you better be listening and watching.
Exactly.
It's for you guys. Yeah. But I think that's why. Like it's no real reason other than I have an eclectic ADD background that is, you can potentially walk away from something and at the very least be entertained.
Exactly. You will be entertained. I can guarantee you that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing all the interview questions, Veronica. I appreciate you.
Fun.
Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.